Hey everyone, welcome today. This is our live session of speaking music, and I'm so glad you can be here with me today. So, today we're going to talk about the fundamentals of music. And in this, a lot of times I teach music in about 6 different categories that I'll break it into. A lot of people will start learning an instrument and they'll feel really bad that they're stalling out on a certain place. And a lot of times it's not that they're stalling out on everything, it's they're having a problem with one of these categories, but they don't understand that. They just think that that's as much as they can learn, or they're just not talented enough or something. So if we can break down these categories more and understand what our actual problem is, it really helps us understand music in a different way and allows us to learn a lot better. So the categories that I have it broken up into is fundamentals. This is just learning what music is across every instrument or just singing, just what the music is in the background, and it doesn't have to do with sheet music. It's just literally how music works together. It's very important no matter what you're doing. If you're a singer, drummer, anything, you can benefit a lot from just understanding those fundamentals. The next one is rhythm. A lot of people will completely not have this as a category at all, or just lump it in with everything else. But rhythm is something that if we can work on separate, every single thing else as we become a musician will grow so much smoother. Because rhythm is something that's quite difficult to just have come naturally. We have to pay attention to it, or else it's going to be that elephant in the room that will mess us up and we didn't quite know why or how. Next one is muscle memory or finger exercise, depending on what instrument you're doing, of course. So I'm sure a lot of you people have heard about the 10,000 hour rule. You need 10,000 hours to be a master at something. Mostly I think that has to do with this muscle memory. Obviously you don't need 10,000 hours to be able to play anything at all, but by the time we have a repetition of continually doing something over and over again, then our body tends to just naturally start doing it. And that's what a lot of people consider when they say it is now a master at it. You're just automatically doing it. Like the rest of us walk around every day. This person plays this instrument that well. Um, Next one is ear training. Ear training is something that a lot of people don't put enough stock in if they're very good at sheet music. They feel like if they know what they're playing, they don't need to hear it exactly. But that's completely going to hinder you in the long run. The more you can understand by ear what you're playing, the more you'll be able to do so many different things. Next, we have creativity and improv. What I like about creativity and improv is we're in a world where you can literally listen to almost anything and hear a professional play it or hear a computer play it and it will be perfect. But humans aren't perfect and we don't always want to hear things perfect. So, as a musician, if someone wants you to play something, they want you. They don't want just the music. They want to hear what you are giving into it. So being able to at least start being a little creative, doing a little improv, so that when you get a piece, you're not just playing that piece, but you are putting things into that piece. It is you that they're listening to. And this can start from day one. You don't have to be like an intermediate or advanced musician to start creating. You can start creating before you know anything about music, as long as you know where you're going with it. And lastly, we have sheet music. Now, sheet music, if you've listened to anything I've done before, you probably know sheet music is the visual representation of music. It's like right now I'm talking to you, but if you want to read it later on, you would have to have it written down in words. If I was playing some music for you and you wanted to read it later on, you would need sheet music. It's just the written form of it. It doesn't express everything that we want to express in the music, and but it has extreme benefits in certain aspects, but it's not for everyone. So today, what we're going to look at is our fundamentals. Now we're just going to do a really brief overview. Pretty much what we're going to look at is all the notes in music, what a major and minor step is, or a half and a whole step, and then also what a major scale is. And we're going to look at that on some different instruments. So, let's get right into that. So in music, no matter what instrument you're playing or anything, we literally only have 12 notes that we work with. The notes are C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, and B. Those are all the notes. If you want to go higher, it's the same note, it's just an octave higher. If you want to go lower, it's the same note, just an octave lower. Now, this, if you haven't done much music, should be so exciting for you, because it means that you don't have to learn tons and tons and tons of different things in the world. It's literally learning like 12 notes. Every single chord, every single scale, every single song is within those notes. That's it. And then as we learn a major scale, we're going to find out that most songs are only 7 of those notes, not even the full 12. But so as we look at this, this is literally all the notes we have. And in order to learn what a major scale is, most people count it out in steps. There's a lot of different ways we can look at it. Right now we're just going to look at it in this way. So we talk about things in whole steps and half steps. First off, a half step. Going from any of these notes to the next note, so C to C sharp, C sharp to D, is a half step. So just moving from one note to the next is a half step. Just a note on the names of the notes. We have C sharp, D flat is the exact same note. It's just a different way of saying it. So if you're looking up from a note, C to C sharp, it becomes a sharp. If you're looking D and looking down, back down a half step to D flat, we can call it D flat. Or if you're playing in a scale with flats, it's usually called a flat. If you're playing a scale with sharps, it's usually called a sharp. The name changes, but the note actually didn't change. So half step is from one note to the next. C to C sharp, C sharp to D, D to D sharp, D sharp to E, E to F. There's no sharp in between E and F. It's just the way music is set up. And then on top of that, we have whole steps. So a half step is from one note to the next. A whole step jumps over a note. That's it. So C, jump over C sharp to D. D, jump over D sharp to E. You keep going up that scale and you just jump over a single note, and that's your whole. So on instruments, this looks different. We're just going to look at the piano and the guitar to start. So the piano is set up so that it's very easy to see what your C scale is. All of our white notes, let me get the back open. All of our white notes are the C scale. All of our black notes up here are in between those. They're all the sharps. So if we have C, C sharp is our half step. C to D would be a whole step. The guitar is set up different. This string, when it's played open, is an E, and every single fret, every one of these lines, is a half step. I have a little guitar practice stick here. If you've seen any of my Mobile Monday videos, I kind of did some shout out for this. For anyone who's trying to learn guitar, this is a great way to start practicing. But we see that every single fret is going to be a next half note, half step. So from here to here is a half step, from here to here is a half step. And if I want a whole step, I jump over a fret. So if I skip a fret, it's a whole step. If I go from one to the next, it's a half step. All guitars and most stringed instruments are this way. Violin, mandolin, mandola, bass guitar, any of them are set up that same way. Every fret is a half step. So, what do we actually care about half step and whole step? What we care about it is one of the ways that we figure out how to do a major scale. Here we see our major scale. Our W stands for whole, our H stands for half. So in order to make any major scale, we can follow this formula. Whole step, half. Whole step, whole step, whole step, half. So what that means is if I started on a C. Get this back up here. So if I do a whole step, I jump over this note and I get on D. I do another whole step, I get on E. E to F is a half step, just like right here. Whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step back to C. That is my C major scale. I just followed that formula. But if I want to start on a different note, say I start on D, a whole step brings me to E, a whole step brings me to F sharp, half step brings me to G, whole step brings me to A, whole step brings me to B, whole step brings me to C sharp, and a half step brings me back to D again. So no matter what note I start on, if I can remember that formula, I can figure out what my scale is. Every single scale, major or minor, has 7 notes. So that makes it so if you're playing a song in a specific scale, you don't have to learn tons of different notes and chords and everything. You have 7 notes that you're mostly going to be playing, and if all the chords are in that scale, you only have 7 chords that you're going to be playing, maybe variations of those, but it makes it so you don't have to memorize tons and tons of different things. You're literally just going to bring it back to those 7 notes. So this is a really basic setup for learning the foundation of music and how that works, how that's set up together. As we go on and learn different things, we're going to take a look at a brief example of the other elements. So next we will take a look at our rhythm, how to understand and basically implement that into your practice. Muscle memory, how do you implement that? Ear training, creativity and improv, and our learning sheet music. What are some of the best ways to use that and make that work for you in your life? So I hope this was beneficial for you. If you have any questions, totally leave them in the comments. I'm going to have a link to my relaxing piano music in there, so that next time you're studying or whatever, you can totally just turn that on and have some nice relaxing piano music in the background. That's a great example of what improv is. I literally just sit down, or stand a lot of times, and play piano for an entire hour, just doing improv, usually working off of a few different chords. So totally check that out, and I will see you next week. Have a great day.